Is it just me, or am I the only one that wants to know what Aberforth did with those goats?
So is there actually a desired height for stormtroopers to be?
Welcome to the Council of Nerds.
The Council of Nerds.
Welcome back to the Council of Nerds, everybody. Today, my name's Brian. My name's Brian. As always, I am joined by my lovely co-host Logan. We are short a host today, and that's okay. We are going to bring this one home today, just as a twosome. Ready for that, Logan?
Yeah, always.
A good old-fashioned twosome.
Oh, wait, yep. Old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned. Okay, today we're going to be talking about the Deathly Hallows Part 1. There is no really hard stop on Part 1. If we bleed into the next one a little bit, it is what it is. But we're going to talk about this one. And next week we're going to finish off Harry Potter, which will be a little bit of a bittersweet moment for the podcast. But we get to move on to the next lovely topic, which was voted on, I believe. Correct, sir?
Yes. Star Wars. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yes. Star Wars.
Los Guerras de las Estrellas. Yeah, so we're going to do Star Wars next. It's going to be great. We're still kind of working out the kinks on how we want to tackle that large subject. But we'll figure it out. It'll be beautiful. It'll be great. So we're going to start off this lovely conversation about the Deathly Hallows. I want to talk about the moments that I liked better in the movie than in the book to start. I don't know if you have any, but I have two.
I think I have many, honestly. They're not too different.
I'll introduce one. If one pops in your mind, just jump on. I think the movie gave Hedwig a much nobler death than the book.
I literally watched the movie last night, and I had started reading the book yesterday.
Yeah.
And I mentioned the same thing to my wife. I said that Hedwig's death was way more sad in the movie, in my opinion.
Not that, and it's not that it's not sad in the book. Like when man, the seventh book tears me apart. Listeners, here's a fun fact about Brian, the one and only Bjorn. Braun, that was my name, wasn't it? I am a very easy crier. It doesn't take much for me to get a little teary-eyed. And even just reading the books, when Hedwig goes down, I am a mess. Because for me, I think of my pet dogs and things like that. And if my dog took a bullet in this fight I was in, I would just be devastated. And so that hits me in a sad spot. But for those of you who don't know the differences between the books and the movie, in the book, Hedwig's in her cage with Harry, and just gets hit with, I assume, a killing curse, but could have been really anything. She's an owl. She could have been hit with, Expelliarmus and could have died. I don't know.
Yeah.
And she just dies in her cage. And there's a moment of denial with Harry where he can't accept that she's dead and all this stuff. But in the movie, she full on takes a shot for her boy.
And I like how in the movie they take a moment to focus on that. You know what I mean? Because I felt like in the book it was she's dead and Harry's wake up, but she's not waking up, and then it was back to getting away from these Death Eaters. And in the movie though, she takes the killing curse and just dead starts going down like a airplane crashing, and Harry's just no, and then the music even changes, specified that it's sad, this is a very sad moment, focus on it, and that part kills.
I'm getting the tingles.
No pun intended.
Oh, that for me, that was a big thing that I liked a lot more in the movie. And this is my unpopular opinion moment. I've heard a lot of people to the contrary of this opinion, but I really liked the part where Harry and Hermione have their little dance in the tent after Ron has left. A lot of people think it's cheesy and corny and dumb. I think it's adorable. I think it shows that Harry wants Hermione to be happy and has this willingness to try to cheer her up. And I don't know. It's a very tender moment for me that I really like. A lot of people think it's dumb fluff that is useless, but
I like that part. I think it was a little too. I felt like it was like pointing towards the fact that like Hermione and Harry have like a thing together, you know, like
yeah,
a fling. But
I can see that.
but I do like that part. It does for your reasons, the reasons you gave. One part that I actually liked a lot more in the movie, and it might be the same thing. Like, kind of, people will probably disagree with me, but I like when they go to Godric's Hollow in the movie. I like how they don't use Polyjuice Potion to go there. I like
I
how
agree.
Harry was like, he was like, no, like, I was born here. This is my home. I'm returning here as who I am. And in the book, they just steal like Muggles.
Yeah,
DNA,
it's like
like
random
hair, right?
townsfolk. Yeah,
Yeah, and like in and I don't know. Okay, in the audio book at least, when they take the Polyjuice Potion, their voices change, right? So, according to the
Yeah.
person they are.
yeah.
And so like Harry and Hermione have this like weird like old man British voice
Yeah.
and old woman British voice.
What'd you find? It's
Yeah.
here, Harry. It's like,
Yeah.
what
And I'm like, wow, there goes all the emotion that we could have had for this scene.
Right.
Because, like, you know,
it's
he
the
sees.
Graves, Harry. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Apparently
It's just
Hermione's
like-
Scottish. Like, but,
Yeah. And then like they go to like his house, like his parents' house, that's all destroyed, but it's like there as a monument. And they're like, they shouldn't have done this to the fence, you know, they like scratched in or graffitied there or whatever, and Harry's like, it's great. And you're like, oh man, that is this could have been so cool if it was just them, you know. And but yeah, so I like that a lot more in the movie.
I do think the book, at least the 7th book, it feels like Polyjuice Potion, they just have.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Like, just an easy, quick fix. So that kind of bothers me in the book. They
It's weird.
use it three times. They use it when they go into the ministry the first time.
Yes.
They use it when they go to the village, Godric's Hollow, and then Hermione uses it to be Bellatrix later on.
True. But doesn't it take
Um,
it takes like 3 months or whatever to make, right?
Right, and that doesn't explain if like Hermione's been brewing it in the back of the burrow, just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just making some soup. Like,
Don't
what
mind
do
me.
Yeah, or it's all good here. Don't worry about it. When
the
Mrs.
Polyjuice.
Weasley's all over them, like Mrs. Weasley's making sure she knows where they are at all times, and yet she somehow finds time to make this really, really complicated, long,
Yeah.
time-consuming potion.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue like, I mean, they were traveling for a while, right? For months at a time.
Yeah, it's true.
And she did have that magical bag. So maybe she just had a cauldron in her little bag that was just cooking it all up.
A cauldron full of hot strung love.
Oh yeah.
That's the song that Molly and Arthur Weasley danced to
Oh yeah.
on their wedding night. And if you listen to the audiobook, it is so uncomfortable when he sings for whatever her name is. Oh, what's that singer's name? Break. That's gonna bug me. It's probably gonna pop up in my head in 10 minutes. I'm gonna yell it out.
Do it.
But yeah,
What's next?
that was
Oh.
it really for that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh wait, this isn't really in the same category. but
Celestina Warbeck. Celestina Warbeck.
He did it. He did it. All right, there it is. Okay. I do want to say this was one thing while listening to the book. I wanted to make sure everybody in the world knew. Everybody in the world, I mean the few people that listen to this. Voldemort refers to himself in the third person, and that is such a weak tactic while speaking to somebody, and it does not show superiority over people. And I thought that was so out of Voldemort's character to be like, Voldemort wants you to do this. Like, come on, dude. Don't speak in third person. I
don't know. I think it kind of
ridiculous.
fits with him. He's kind of detaching himself even further. Even though Lord Voldemort is his moniker, if the second movie is to be believed, he formulated it out of his name, of Tom Marvolo Riddle, if that's to be believed. I don't know if all of the letters are represented or not, but maybe he's even detaching himself more from even that moniker, because now, who cares? Dumbledore uses that name all the time now. Harry Potter uses that name. Remus Lupin uses that name all the time now. It's not special and scary anymore, so maybe he's trying to come up with his own new name, and he's just testing ones out, and he's saying it differently. He's like, Lord Voldemort. He's just saying it differently, just to see if it has different effect.
Fear of the name only increases fear of the thing itself. Thanks, Hermione.
Amen.
Yep.
All right. On to favorite moments. Oh, actually, I did think that the way that they did Ron leaving in the movie was more impactful than when Ron left in the book. For me, that was just me. I thought it, and maybe it was just the visual aspect of it, of seeing the rage instead of trying to hear or think of the rage from Ron's side and Harry's side. Like, it just seemed more hollow and devastating that Hermione runs after him, and then there's this moment of just quiet while she's
and they don't
crying.
even show it. Yeah, I like how they don't show it too. Like, you just hear like the snap of the disapparation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
good.
I'm gonna talk about my favorite movie moment.
Yeah.
Them running from the Snatchers. When they're, after he has, said the voodoo name of Voldemort. At least that's how it is in the book. I haven't seen the movie in a while. I don't even know if that's how
it's
it
not
works
like
in the
that
movie.
in the movie at all.
They just stumble across them, isn't it?
It kind of is. So they go to the Love Goods, and what's his name? Xenophilius says Voldemort, and all the Death Eaters come there, but then they disapparate.
Yeah.
And then when they disapparate, when they apparate to where they're supposed to be, then like for some reason the Snatchers are there. I don't know how, but they are.
That's it. They just kind of stumble across them. But
yeah.
I think the sequence in the movie when they're running through the woods and just kind of like whoosh, like throwing spells behind them, trying to catch these guys off guard and trying to get away, it's really very cool. Cinematically pleasing. And I do like that there's no music during that sequence.
Yeah, it's very silent.
It's very tense. It's just like breathing, crumpling leaves, and just like spells. I think that was a perfect way to go about it.
It's very organic.
So that was good. I don't know if you have a favorite movie moment.
I do. My favorite movie moment is actually the scene when they're heading to the Burrow at the very beginning. When there's the 14 Harry Potters or whatever, the 7 Harry Potters.
Yeah.
They take the Polyjuice. I like that part a lot. Almost like, I think it's mainly, I love it in the movie and I also love it in the book. Like, they're kind of separate to me because like they're the same part, but there's things in the book that aren't in the movie, but there's just the way cinematically in the movie, it was just so cool. I love the idea of people fighting on brooms. I love that. Before it's really just been you fly on brooms to play a game. You play Quidditch or to get somewhere. But now all of a sudden you have the Order of the Phoenix and the Death Eaters going crazy fighting on, and Thestrals, and they're all fighting on their brooms. And I love the part before Harry like arrives or passes through the cloud, and it's just like flashes of light, and it just looks like it's lightning just flashing in there. And that part's so cool because I remember one time there was like a thunderstorm, or a lightning storm, but there was no thunder. Like, I couldn't hear any thunder, but there was always like these little flashes like in the same cloud, and I was like, there's wizards up there fighting right now. I know it. I just know it.
A duel.
Yeah, I wish I could go up there and help them, but I just can't. I can't.
Is there a wizarding air force then?
That would be cool.
Like, they're just like very talented like broom flyers that can also fight really well on a broom. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, they have like their version of napalm, which is just like a wizard pointing his wand down and just like flames coming out.
Just like
That'd be pretty cool though. I love that part in the movie. And the book is really cool too. I mainly like the Stan Turnpike thing in the book. Yeah.
that is a cool moment in the book where he sees Stan and then he uses Expelliarmus and then they know it's him. It's like his signature spell and all that. I think that aspect is really interesting. And then I did want to bring up, it is genuinely a well done scene, but Dobby's death, which I've met a lot of people that have claimed that there were moments in a book where they got to it and they just threw the book across the room because they were so upset.
Wow.
That happened to me when I read that Dobby died.
Oof.
It just wasn't okay. To this day,
No.
it's still not okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Brian is a free elf, my man. Like, Dobby was free enough for all of us. We can all be free.
Because of him.
It's just that, man, just in the movie, just, the way he says Harry.
Oh, dude.
And you're just like, and you just
that's
in the book it's even harder because it's at night in the book. In the book it's at night. In the movie it's during the day, and it goes into detail about how he was just staring up at and he could see the stars reflected in his eyes, and you're just like, oh. And that for me is bar none. And this is somewhat an unpopular opinion, but that is the hardest death on me in the entire series. Harder than a certain beloved character that we'll be talking about next episode, I'm sure. But this one was harder on me than any other one.
To be fair, in the movies, and he deserves it, right? Dobby deserves to get the spotlight at that moment, and he gets a huge spotlight, and it's very sad and makes you want to die. And so you can be with him, but in the movies with most of the other deaths in the seven part 2, really, nobody really gets a spotlight. I don't think
it's true.
Any of the main characters who die, they don't really get a spotlight, and so that's where it's like, it's a total missed opportunity, and they should have. But I think that's why it was more impactful. I do want to say also for Dobby's death, I don't know if it's like, I can't remember in the book, but in the movie, Luna comes over and she's like, we should close his eyes because that way it's like he's sleeping. And I was like, oh, that is actually really sad. Like, I don't know. I kind of like that part because Luna's character is like this, she's a little nuts, but she's very, like, she's down to earth and she wants to just help people. Like, she's just such a nice person. And so that part is just so genuine from Luna's character, I feel like. Yeah. And that kind of kills me.
It's such a tender moment because she knows she's weird, Dobby's weird, whatever, and she's like, I think she does come over and she says, we should close his eyes, and then she does it and she goes, see, now he's sleeping. And you're just like, it's okay, he's just sleeping. It's okay.
He'll wake up soon.
So yeah, that part is rough. I cannot get through that sequence without crying. Can't do it.
Man, this is a sad book /
it's rough.
Movies. Yeah.
But there's never a war without casualties, and the good side won.
Also, this has nothing to do with what's his face, with Dobby. But this is a part that actually wasn't in the movie and was in the book. They actually did film a part for it, but it's now just a deleted scene. And for me, that is the Harry's farewell to the Dursleys.
Right.
I loved that part. I thought it was really cool in the book. It was really, really good. And I think, actually, I liked if you haven't seen the deleted scene for it, it's really good. I actually like how they did it cinematically more than they did it in the book. I just kind of liked how, I don't know, I kind of felt like in the book, and it makes sense, like, why she did it in the book, but in the book, Dudley says, like, I don't think you're a waste of space, or whatever he says, Yeah. And then, like, wants to shake his hand. And then,
Harry calls him Big D, and you're like,
Oh yeah, and Aunt Petunia like runs over and she's like crying, but she runs over to Dudley like she's
Yeah.
so proud of him
But I
for being
love
the
that
bigger
whoever
man.
I love that the Order of the Phoenix chick that's there is like, what? Like she gets all mad about
Yeah,
it. And was
she
like,
gets
he
so
didn't
mad.
even do anything. Like,
Yeah, I mean that part's really funny in the book. I like that, but it kind of in the movie for the deleted scene with where it would have been in the movie, it kind of went along with the emotions that were being portrayed like from the beginning. You know, like
yeah,
and it was, Aunt Petunia. I mean, none of the Order of the Phoenix people are there. It's just them four, and Petunia and Vernon are getting in the car. And then I don't remember. I think maybe Uncle Vernon still says he's a waste of space or something like that. And then Dudley like awkwardly walks over there and is like, "I don't think you're a waste of space," and like shakes his hand. Yeah, it's like really weird, but I don't know. I like that. I also liked which isn't in the book actually, but Hermione obliviating her parents in the movie. That's pretty killer. That one kills. Especially since they don't explain later that like she does
she
like
sends them to
get their memory
they
back.
sends them to Australia and like puts them way
Yeah.
the heck out of the way to protect them, which is like
Yeah.
such a like you love your parents clearly,
Right.
But,
But she also
man,
she does go find them again or whatever and restores their memory.
yes.
But in the movies they don't even explain that, so you're just like, "Oh, you just kind of think if you haven't read the books, you're just like,
Oh,
"Oh,
you're an
Hermione's
orphan
never going to
now."
have parents again." You're
Yeah.
like Harry.
Wow, now you can really marry Harry. Look at you
Yeah.
guys on the same page.
You never have to visit your in-laws. It's great.
Oh,
It's a win-win.
married jokes. Wow. Yeah. No. I that kind of interestingly brings up a part that is in the movie that is not in the book, and I believe it's this movie. Is this the movie? I haven't seen it in a while, and I apologize for that. But is this the movie where Ron and Ginny run out of the burrow and go like in the middle of a swamp by the burrow and like somewhat have a duel with Fenrir and
Negative.
Bellatrix?
That's in 6, which
'Kay.
I did not realize wasn't in the book. But
Yeah, they
Yeah.
burned down the burrow.
yeah,
What?
none of it made sense.
But
Yeah.
I just need to take a moment. We didn't cover this in the last episode, but I need to
Bruh.
take a moment.
Yeah.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
fact that they made a cinematic choice to burn down the Weasley home is not okay.
On Christmas,
Not okay.
when there was like a specific actual important thing that happened in the book on Christmas, when they in the movies chose to have Bellatrix and Fenrir show up and fight in the swamp or whatever.
So ridiculous. Sorry. I definitely thought that was this movie, but thank you for correcting
No,
me. But still, I'm
but
heated about it.
Still.
Because so
Yeah.
many things happen at the burrow, and it leads to some of the things I wanted to talk about that I wish they had added.
Yeah.
And you talked about one was Hermione obliviating her parents and talking about that. But what I have written down here is just the preparation. Like that's what I wish they had spent more time on. What Ron did, what Hermione did, and what Harry did to get ready for all of this.
Yeah.
And like Ron convinces his ghoul up in the attic to be transfigured into looking like himself in pajamas.
right.
So it looks like he has spattergroit, which apparently is this disease. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like he's already got his dad on board. He's got his older brothers on board. His mom is vehemently against it. But it's just they like as much as Harry's the chosen one and Harry has all the weight on his shoulders, his friends have done so much and really do sacrifice a lot to help him. And it doesn't show that, or if it does, it doesn't explain that in a way that is adequate to me.
Right.
Because I love the sacrificing nature of Ron and Hermione to want to help Harry. Like that is their initial response, which makes it even more heart-wrenching when Ron leaves later, because he has done so much to try to help that the Horcrux has turned him into this whiny ball of hungry crybaby.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I actually thought of unless you're gonna keep going on this.
No.
This rant.
That's
Okay. I had another favorite movie moment. It's actually in the book, but I think they did a really good job on taking it from the book and putting it in the movie. And that is the cafe scene when the two Dementors show up and they're like disguised as workers.
Death Eaters.
And what did I say?
Dementors.
Oh,
Bruh.
oh, yeah.
Bruh.
Oh, I am stupid. Yeah. Yeah. Death Eaters. Those guys. The Death
I know
Eaters
one of
show
them
up.
is.
But
I know one of them is Dolohov, and I can't remember the name of the other guy. But
Yeah, Dolohov and
it's the tall
I-
blonde one. I can't remember his name.
he was on the astronomy tower
Yes.
when Dumbledore died. I can't remember his name.
He's
either.
the one who lights Hagrid's hut on fire.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name, but I love actually the difference between the book and the movie. But I liked more in the movie. In the book, they show up and they like sit down in the booth next to Harry and Ron and Hermione, and then it's like I think Harry. They get up. They're like, let's get out of here. Like they don't like being stagnant or whatever, and so they're like, let's get out of here. And then right when they get up, those guys get up and they're like, ah, frick. And then they just start like going at it, right?
Yeah.
But in the movies, I love this part. I love how, so they walk in and they go to like the cashier desk or whatever to order, and Harry's the only one that can see them there at the cashier, and like just like out of their sleeves drop their wands, and Harry's just like, get down, and then they just start like throwing spells at each other, and I thought that was way cool. To this day, every time I see that part when the wands come out of their sleeves, just like so slyly, I'm like, oh, that's so cool, man. Like, start fighting, let's go. I think that this goes along with your favorite part with the snatchers chasing them in the forest. I think it's cool because it kind of puts them in our world more, like in the cafe, that's a Muggle world thing.
Right.
And so it gives like us this magical battle within our world. And then in the forest, I mean, it's just a forest, but at the same time, it's not like it's a magical forest. There's no magical creatures there. It's just a Muggle forest. And I thought that was really cool. I also want to point out that if you watch the scene right after they apparate in the movie into London, after they apparate from the wedding to London, that spot in London they zoom out on, I noticed that it is one of the Modern Warfare Call of Duty maps. It is the Piccadilly for anybody who plays Call of Duty. It is that map, and I'm like, hey, it's that map, and I love that.
His name is Rowell, by the way. The other Death Eater's
Rowell,
name is
yeah.
Rowell.
That's right. That's it.
No, I think that's a really interesting. I do like that you brought that up. I do like that part too.
Yeah.
All right. On to things that I wish they added. I covered the preparation. The other huge thing, and this is probably the only. Well, okay, I'll talk about a smaller one, but Remus coming to them while they're at Grimmauld Place and asking them if he can join them.
Mm-hmm.
That part I think would have done a lot good in the movie to develop Remus as a character. Not a lot to say about it other than Harry is a total jerk. I mean, warranted. There's a reason, but man, did Harry have some cojones on him to talk to not only someone who has already proven that he's a pretty dang good wizard, but I mean, he's a werewolf still. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
He might snap.
it's kind of scary. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to stab my thumb and make you suck on it. Now you're a werewolf. So, like, it's just like some scary crap, man.
Well, I mean, also, it's just mean because you look at the state of, and the reason why Lupin is the way he is at that part. It's really kind of sad. You feel bad for Lupin. You really do. And then Harry just snaps at him like that, and you're like, okay, Harry, step back.
Let's
Just take
reel
a
that
chill
in there,
pill.
bud. Reel that in
Just-
a little bit.
Just like maybe think about what we're going to say, and then
This
we
is
say
your good
it.
pal Remus, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just chill out a
He's-
little bit.
Basically, like your father now. You're like your father figure now that Sirius is dead. So that's on you
Right.
forever.
Now that every other father figure is dead. J.K. Rowling had planned to kill Arthur Weasley, but then figured that Harry couldn't kill. She couldn't kill off any more father figures for Harry.
Good.
Um,
Jeez.
the other one that's a big one for me, biggest swing and a miss, Creature.
Ah,
Just as a whole, from him being a total jerk to him
Creature.
becoming literally
almost
like,
a new Dobby.
right, like
Yeah.
becoming like a total caretaker who's loving, and like I still think about that steak and kidney pie that is just waiting for them, and I'm just like, oh, Creature, no, like,
Yeah.
come on. And but then he, we'll talk about it in the other book, but then he comes back at the Battle of Hogwarts, and that kills me when in that part of the book, like when he is there, that gets me all teary-eyed and stuff too,
Yeah.
because I end up loving Creature so much. I feel like there's not a single house elf that gets introduced in the show, in the books, or well, except for maybe Hepzibah Smith's elf, that I don't just love. Like, I just think they're great.
Yeah. Yeah, this also goes along with Dobby's death as well that I forgot to mention, but the fact that this makes Dobby's death more sad for me in the book, and now that I've read the books, it makes it more sad in the movies, but it could have been worse in the movies. And then also with Creature, that missing, Dobby is in like every book from the second one to 7, right? And he doesn't play a huge part in some of them, but in some of them he has a lot of lines, he says a lot of things, does a lot of things. And that for me makes, like, we see him and like kind of his growth as a character throughout the books, and then his death, and you're like, oh, so sad. But you don't see that in the movies, because you get him in the second movie, and then you get him in this one. And
I think
with
he's in
Creature,
is he in the 6th one for Blip too?
No,
Does
I
he
don't
not?
really
Does Harry
remember.
not tell him to go follow Draco in the movie? I don't know if that happens or not. That's annoying.
It doesn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's sad. And like, so it's kind of goes along with Creature. Like, Creature, like, you actually, like, you see him for the first time and you're like, oh, I don't like him. He's creepy and mean. And then he even gets worse. And like, Harry hates Creature because, like, we all feel like Creature betrayed Harry. He's given secrets or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Sirius. And but then his rise to being even better, it just makes him such a better character. And like, we see Creature, it's sad, but we see Creature just as much as we see Dobby in the movies, if you think about it. You know what I mean? And that's
I think
not
like
fair.
overall screen time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, dang. But yeah, Creature does become a pretty cool elf. I like that.
That's all I have for things that I wish they added. There's a few other nitpicky things. I guess I could have my nitpicky moment, but I'm not.
I have one major one that I think you
'Kay.
just forgot about, and that is Peter Pettigrew killing himself with his hand.
Holy, yeah. That's
I
a big one.
that I don't think I'll ever understand why that's not in the movie. He's a main bad guy, really.
Yeah,
in
instead
the
of
movies.
him getting his head hit over and he's like, ow. And
Yeah,
falls
they just
forward.
they stun him, and then we never see him again, and we just think he's
Yeah,
dead.
there's
I
no-
guess.
Like, I go, okay, I guess he got
Yeah.
he had a hemorrhage in his brain and died.
Must have
like,
felt weird, But in the books, his hand, the hand that Voldemort gave him, after he cut it off in the 4th one, that hand, it's like it has this like a mind of its own, right? That's basically what I'm getting. It has a mind of its own, and I don't remember, so you might have to fill in some stuff.
What it is he's got Harry by the throat. He's choking him
right.
out. He's killing Harry, and he says, "I saved your life. You owe me."
Mm-hmm.
And he lets go for a second. He hesitates, and from that moment, his hand just starts slowly going towards his throat to kill him.
Yeah.
And I think Voldemort knew. I think Dumbledore knew. Even Dumbledore mentions it in the 3rd book. He's like, a debt is always repaid. That kind of a sentiment. And Voldemort cursed the hand that if he ever showed sympathy or hesitancy towards Harry, that he would be taken care of. And that's super sad.
It's really sad.
I mean, I don't have any sympathy for Peter Pettigrew, but in his one moment that he could have redeemed himself.
Well, I would say I don't think he fully redeemed himself there, but I
Right.
think that he partially did,
Yeah.
and it was really good of him to do that, even though it was probably because he's more of just a coward. And but I think being who he is, Peter Pettigrew, he's basically the reason. Not he's basically the reason the Potters are dead. James and Lily are dead.
Well, he is the reason.
He is the reason. And that makes him a main bad guy. Introduced
Yes.
in the third one.
Yes.
He's in the fourth
Yes.
one, like movie-wise, right? He's in the fourth one.
Well, it's like not showing
Um,
Bellatrix's death. It's like,
Exactly.
why would you
and,
not?
And so not showing it, I think, is just a disgrace to his character. And it's also just like, come on, if you, even in the movie, well, mainly in the movies, you see Peter Pettigrew's face, you hear him talk, you want to see his death. Like, he's that annoying and that
You
gross
think he
of a
definitely
character.
deserves it. But that part
Yeah.
in the book, I agree, because even Harry has this moment of panic where he's like, no, and he tries
Yeah.
to save his life.
Yeah.
Like, he tries so hard to
Which is
save,
cool.
and Ron is even trying to help. Like, it's
Yeah.
and there's just nothing they can do,
Yeah.
and that is almost more defeating. And he just stares at, and I've always thought about that part, and I'm surprised I didn't bring it up. So thank you for bringing it up. But there's a part where Harry says that Wormtail just stared into his eyes while he died. And for me, I always think, is he feeling remorse? Is he seeing his friend James? Is he not seeing
Yeah.
Harry, but he's seeing James, and he's just like, I'm
He's
sorry.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
It's a redemption moment, I think, for sure, that should have been thrown out in the movie. I don't think anybody would have been mad if the movie was 10 minutes longer. You know what I mean?
yeah, or like a minute longer. Like,
Yeah, really. It doesn't take long to kill yourself with a hand. That's jinxed.
But that's like, yeah. So if you got more, I'm out on things.
No,
I
that
wish
was-
they added.
That was my last main thing. They actually did a really good job with this movie, I felt like.
Well,
Of
I think
course
they could take
there's
more time because there's two of them.
Yeah, exactly. And of course there's little things here and there that they didn't do or they just kind of mixed up in the movies, but it all worked out in the end. It all tells the story. And so I felt like they did a really good job in this movie.
I do have two very quick fan theories.
I have one, and so one might be the same one you have, but go for it. Or do you want me to go first?
You got to do the sound effect first.
Okay, but do you want me to go first or you first?
Yes, go ahead. You go
Okay.
first.
Oh, crap. I forgot what button it is. There it is.
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah. Fan theory time.
Okay. So I looked up a couple theories, and one I actually was going to share here, but as I looked into it more, turns out it's completely debunked. And I'll just share that really quickly right here. It was a theory that Regulus Black was actually Crookshanks, that he was like an unregistered animagus or animagi, or however you want to say it or whatever. But that he was Crookshanks. And the whole theory was based off of him being like a Leo or something like that, like, and one of the stars that's in the constellation for Leo its name is Regulus, and Leos are like known for cats or something like that. But then somebody was like, yeah, but in Creature's tale, he's dead. like Creature
Yeah, but,
literally
like-
says that he died.
Yeah, but like he did though.
Yeah.
So-
So completely debunked. It could have been cool. I think could have been a cool little theory, but completely debunked. But the main theory I found is that the tale of the three brothers is like Dumbledore is Death, like
Yes.
the character Death. Cool theory, really. I think it's really cool. And even J.K. Rowling has like said that she really likes the theory and that it's fitting. I hate when people say, "Oh, theory's confirmed," because she was like, "Oh, I like this. It's really fitting to Dumbledore's character."
Well,
and they're
she
like,
said a
"Oh,
word.
it's confirmed. He is Death." And it's like, well, no, she just likes it, but okay.
Yeah.
But the fan theory suggests that Voldemort represents the first brother in the tale of the three brothers. Snape is a representation of the second, and the third is believed to be Harry Potter, while Dumbledore is Death. here, let's read this. If you subscribe to the 3 representations, then it seems to suggest that the only one who could be Death is Professor Dumbledore. In the first book, Dumbledore gives Harry an invisibility cloak, which is claimed to have been passed down by his father, James. And the cloak is accompanied by a note which reads, "Your father left this in my possession when he died. It is time for it was returned to you. Use it well." To further support the Dumbledore equals death theory, in the Deathly Hallows film, Harry is shot at with a killing curse, and as he enters King's Cross Station to be greeted by Dumbledore as an old friend. That really didn't make sense by reading it, but basically, like, when Harry is hit with the killing curse by Voldemort in part 2 of the movies, he's like in King's Cross Station and Dumbledore's there, so it's like that greeting of an old friend, just like in the Tale of Three Brothers. There's also, something that's not in that is that the second brother who got the resurrection stone was longing for his late bride or a girlfriend, I don't remember if it was a bride or not, but who was dead, and he wanted to see her, and then he ended up killing himself because he couldn't actually be with her. She was just kind of existing there as a ghost. And I think with Snape, his longing for Lily Potter is, I think, very comparable there, you know? He obviously doesn't have the resurrection stone, but he had this woman he loved that he couldn't be with, and in the end, he died because of it. If you think about it, he did die because of his longing for Lily, and I think that's really fitting. And then obviously Voldemort just wants all this power.
I think an interesting point with the ghost aspect of Snape. Think about every time he casts his Patronus. It's the same Patronus that Lily had. So that in some way could be a manifestation of her spirit or her essence that he sees every time he casts that spell. Also, just fun, random fact, my wife's maiden name and Lily Potter's maiden name are both Evans. So that's pretty cool.
You're basically James Potter.
Basically.
Were you a bully in high school?
No, I was bullied, though. Sad.
That makes sense.
Thanks.
You're bullied now.
Thank you. No, I like that theory a lot. I've heard that theory before, and I do like it. It sticks very well. Like, it works out. So there's no reason why that shouldn't have, like, I function off of the assumption that that's true.
Yep.
That's pretty much how I live my life with that. Okay, I'm going to do one really quick one, and then one that's going to do a little bit more an explanation, but it'll be quick. In the first 3 books, Harry gets a gift each year from the Dursleys. Mm-hmm. First year, he gets a 50-cent piece coin. It's a circle. Right. The next year, he gets a toothpick. And then the next year, he gets a single tissue.
A triangle.
And all 3 of those, like, if you rearrange the shapes, can be representative of the shapes of the Deathly Hallows, which is just kind of a cool thing. It's not really like a theory. It's more of like a J.K. Rowling probably had this planned out for a while. Like, this is just kind of a cool thing to show that she has been thinking. And maybe it's all coincidence. It very well could be. But it's very convenient that they just kind of end up making the same shapes and whatnot as those 3 objects. Which
it's
for
also,
me lends... Go ahead.
It's also really close to SpongeBob's friends when he quarantines himself in his house. I can't remember the episode, but Chip, Penny, and Tissue. Used napkin, I think it was, actually.
Used napkin.
There's a big correlation, big fan theory out there just created by me that SpongeBob is Harry Potter.
Confirmed. Yep. Harry Potter is SpongeBob. Confirmed.
SpongeBob is the chosen one.
So that one's just kind of interesting. The one that I do like and I want to talk a little bit more about is when Harry's wand shoots out the golden flame at Voldemort when they're running away from the Battle of the Seven Potters. The theory is that was the Horcrux inside of Harry deploying its defensive mechanism to try to save itself from its attacker. Now this has been all but confirmed at this point, but as we've seen from other Horcruxes, they will deploy very strong defensive methods to be able to protect themselves, and it would then lend that it would do the same thing on behalf of Harry, and that's why he's able to do magic that he's never been able to do before, because it's kind of this combo magic spell of Voldemort's part power and all of Harry's power, which I think is just kind of an interesting thing. Is like the Horcrux is fighting back against its own master, even though it doesn't matter. It's like, I'm just trying to survive, and so it's just fighting back. I think that's kind of an interesting thought.
Here's a bit of a question for that.
Yeah.
It correlates with that. So, after spoiler alert, I don't have a sound effect for that, but spoiler alert. When Harry ends up winning and Voldemort dies, does Harry lose some power? Does he become a weaker wizard? Or does it logically seem like he should be a weaker wizard because of that?
Well, he did. And I don't know if you've read The Cursed Child. But he loses the ability to speak parcel tongue. And a few other things, which I don't know if that lends to magical prowess. But he was still the head of magical law enforcement, so I mean, he had to have some feasible talent. And heck, if I had on my resume defeated, I'm the guy who shot Bin Laden, then yeah, probably I could have been the top of a police department. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
If you had something like that on your resume.
Oh, you're that guy?
Oh yeah, sure, you can have the job there, bud.
You're hired, man. That's really impressive.
Welcome to the police department. We got donuts over there. I'm just going on a tangent now, but
worth it.
I think it could be just that on the merit that he beat Voldemort, but it could be also that he's a pretty good wizard.
Yeah,
cool. But that's all I got. I like this movie. So.
Yeah, I love this movie. I did not mention this, but I do want to say before we wrap it up. I think this 7 part 1, not 7 part 1 and 2 combined, but 7 part 1 is probably my favorite movie out of all of them. And I think I've always liked the organic feel of Harry Potter. You can figure out what that means on your own. But I like how it's relatable, they don't, at least in the movies, they didn't make them look weird. They weren't wearing extravagant costumes all the time. I also love, the reason I love this one specifically is just the involvement of the Muggle world, that combination of the Muggle world and the Wizarding world.
Sometimes you forget that the Muggle world's even there, so it's nice.
Yeah, and so I cinematically, I just love the scenery, when they're traveling and they're going from place to place, and trying to figure out how to find these Horcruxes and how to destroy the Horcruxes and all that. A lot of people aren't huge fans of this movie because it is a little boring, I guess, to some people. Not a lot is going on. There's not a lot of, fighting. But for me, I kind of love that. I loved that aspect of, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it, but you get what I mean.
No, I agree. I agree
your
with
favorite
you.
part with the Snatchers and stuff. It just, all of it kind of makes me feel like it is in our world, and I think that's why it's just really great to me.
I agree with you. You heard it here, folks. Harry Potter is real. Confirmed. The Wizarding world is real. We are all a part of it, and all of us suck because we didn't get our letters when we were 11. So
we're that bad of wizards.
But yeah, I love this movie. It's definitely, I think I need to watch it again for sure. I think I have a tendency to watch part 2 more often than part 1.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think I need to definitely give it more props because it is really a decent movie across the board. But that's all I have. What about you?
I'm done. We're almost done with Harry Potter. We got one more, part 2 of the Deathly Hallows to talk about next week. But again, thank you for listening. Really, even though we always make jokes, there's not a lot of people listening, but really, it's just fun. We enjoy doing this. Even if there was one person literally listening every week, we would still do it just because we enjoy it. Gives us the chance to talk nerdy things, and if people want to listen, they can listen. They can enjoy these nerdy things with us. But tell your friends if you really want, you know.
We've had people come back to us who aren't nerdy people that have said, you know, we really like your content. It's opened the door for us to want to get involved with some of this stuff and to hear more and to read and to watch. And so don't be afraid to just share this with people who you may not think are that nerdy, because one, they could be a closet nerd, but two, they might turn into a more nerdy person, which we can always use more in the ranks of the nerd army. You know, we that's the point of this, is just to let people's nerd flag fly. And like Logan said, if there was only one person out there listening, we'd still be doing this. So our Discord is growing, so keep talking to us on there. Keep introducing yourself on the Discord channel. That's the Council of Nerds Discord. And you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube, and a few other places as well if you get your podcasts from other sources. But yeah, other than that, we are going to sign off. So
yes,
thank you for listening again, and we will catch you in the next and last Harry Potter episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Council of Nerds.